Week 6 of the NFL season was really a step down injury-wise from the other weeks, but there were still some injuries that I really felt like I wanted to talk about in a video. So today I'm going to talk about the biggest injuries in Week 6 of the NFL season. What's up everybody, it's AC Analysis, and I am back today with your NFL Injury Weekly News Report. So like I said in the intro, I'm going to be talking about the biggest injuries in Week 6 of the NFL season. And I make one of these videos every single week, so I'm going to have a tag in the top right of the screen where you can check out the previous week's NFL injuries. So today I'm going to be talking about the biggest injuries in Week 6 of the NFL season. But before we get started, if you guys enjoy consistent football content, liking and subscribing would be really helpful. We're now on the road to 100 subscribers, and every sub helps. And with that being said, let's get right into the video. We're going to start this video hot with one of the most serious injuries this week, and that is the injury to the Steelers' star middle linebacker, Devin Bush, who in their blowout against the Browns tore his ACL and is now doubtful to play for the rest of the entire season. Devin Bush was drafted 10th overall in the 2019 NFL Draft by the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he was drafted to fill the shoes of Ryan Shazier, who got injured in the 2018 NFL game and has now missed the rest of his entire NFL career. But Devin Bush really did fill the spot. In his rookie season, he had 109 tackles, he had 2 sacks, so he really was playing very well. But in the Steelers' blowout against the Browns, Ryan Shazier tore his ACL and is now doubtful to play for the rest of the season, which is a huge blow since he was the middle linebacker for the team, and he was playing very, very well. But will this really affect the Steelers? Of course it will. You lost your starting middle linebacker, who's very young and very talented and a very good player. But the Steelers were still able to win even after he tore his ACL, and they absolutely destroyed the Browns, absolutely crushed them. The game of the week was honestly pathetic. But the Steelers still had Minkah Fitzpatrick on the defense, so I think that the defense is going to do just fine and the Steelers are going to stay on a roll. This is just a big blow to the team. The previous injury that we talked about was pretty serious, but this one is actually quite mild, and that is to the Dolphins star wide receiver, Devontae Parker. And in the Dolphins' win against the Jets, Devontae Parker had a groin injury and could not come back for the rest of the game. Parker spent his entire NFL career with the Miami Dolphins, and in the NFL he was kind of a disappointment, averaging like 500 yards a season and getting injured a lot. But then in 2019 he finally came into his own, having 72 receptions for 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns, making the Pro Bowl and finally showing off what he can do. And in 2020 he was having some injury problems with his leg, but even so, coming into the season he already has 300 receiving yards. So he's a solid wide receiver, and him being out, he probably won't be out, but if he gets out, that will affect the team, and that will affect Fitzpatrick, but he's not going to be out, and he's just going to have a limited role in their next week's game. Now for our next injury, it's going to be another big one, and that is to the Eagles starting tight end Zach Ertz. And in their close game against the Baltimore Ravens, which they ended up losing, Zach Ertz had an ankle injury and is now expected to miss 3 to 4 weeks, which is very bad since Ertz was averaging about 900 yards a season and he was a blocker, which is very rare for a tight end. It's hard to find a good tight end in these recent days. And this season he was also on good pace, averaging like 50 yards a game, so Ertz was on his 800-yard pace again. And being out for 3 to 4 weeks is a blow since he protects Carson Wentz and he can go up and get that jump ball with being at a high height. So the Eagles will be affected by this, but luckily he's not out for the entire season. The next injury on our list will be another key component for the Eagles, and that will be their star up-and-coming running back Miles Sanders, who in their loss against the Ravens in the third quarter had an ankle injury and is expected to miss their next game. And in that game, he was having a solid game, 118 rushing yards, and he was playing very good. He was averaging like 100 yards a game, a little bit less than that. So he was really showing that he could play in the NFL, and his first season wasn't just a fluke. But unfortunately, he's out. He's not expected to miss too much time, like he would have made the next game. He would have been able to play the next game most likely if the next game wasn't a Thursday night game. If the next game was a Sunday night game, he would have been able to play, but since it was a Thursday game, he'd not have enough recovery time and he won't be able to play. The thing is, though, that even with Miles Sanders and Zach Ertz, the Eagles have not been able to win. Their defense has not been to par, their offense hasn't been great, and for the week that Miles Sanders and Zach Ertz are both going to be out, it's going to really suck for Carson Wentz since his only weapon will be Travis Fulgham, who showed that he can be solid in the NFL, but just having that one weapon, the Eagles are going to lose next week's game, I can promise you that. Zach Ertz being out, Miles Sanders being out, Miles Sanders might miss the next week after that, but it's doubted since his injury is not very severe, but Ertz's injury is severe. So Eagles fans, you're going to have a tough next few weeks. The final injury I'm going to talk about on our list is an injury that I actually talked about in the Week 3 injury video that I made. Go check it out. But that is the injury to Raheem Mostert. He finally came back from injury. He had an ankle sprain in the Week 3 matchup, and he was not expected to come back for a few weeks. He came back in Week 6, and he carried the ball 16 times in the first half in their win against the Rams, only to have him exit the game in the second half on his first carry, and he's expected to land on injury reserve with another ankle sprain, and he's expected to most likely miss a few weeks to maybe even the rest of the season. We're not hoping for this. It's going to be bad if he misses the rest of the season, but this really does suck. It shows another long line of 49ers injuries. The 49ers have dealt with so many injuries this year, and it's kind of plaguing them this season. They had lots of hope coming into this year, and now that Mostert's expected to miss more time, and they have a ton of players like Nick Bosa on IR, they have really just not been able to play because of all these injuries they've had. And you know that they're a good team, because even with half of their starters missing and them basically playing with third-string players, they are still 3-3, and they beat the Rams. So I don't think the 49ers are dead this season, but Raheem Mostert being out again just shows how bad their season is going. With that being said, that'll wrap up this video. This has been AC Analysis talking about the biggest Week 6 NFL injuries. This video was a little bit shorter since there wasn't as much injuries, but if you guys enjoy consistent football content, liking and subscribing would be really helpful. We're on the road to 100 subs and every sub helps. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and see you next time.